Eternals is the I guess the one of the latest Marvel movies. One of the latest MCU movies that came out next to that one random Spider-Man No Way Home movie, whatever that was. So Eternals is like a new movie from Chloe Zhao. She directed Nomadland. So I was like actually pretty hyped for this movie because I'm like, okay, so we're getting like a legit film director making an actual like a crazy MCU movie, and so I was actually pretty hyped for this movie. I thought it was gonna be something crazy. I thought it was gonna be like an epic sort of, which in elements of it were. But I was hoping that maybe this is gonna be like a huge film. Like this is gonna be like groundbreaking. Like they're gonna introduce something insane. This is gonna have spoilers in it just because like why not? It's been 2-3 months already since this movie came out, so I'm going to talk a little bit about spoilers. I do believe that this movie is underrated, or I don't believe that the critic scores for this movie is deserving. I feel like this movie actually did something interesting. I feel like this movie is one of the most ambitious MCU movies I've seen in recent times, in the sense of like some person is actually trying something new here with this movie. And so this movie essentially it tries to introduce 10 brand new MCU characters, which is and then basically make each character interesting enough for you to watch them for 2.5 hours. And so I think for the most part this movie actually was pretty effective at developing some interesting characters. And I think at a certain point even the villain was actually not bad at all. I thought that this movie had a great concept for sure. I love the idea of the Eternals. I think some people are saying that this movie would probably be good as maybe like a mini series. I think that would actually be pretty cool too because we can take like every 1 or 2 episodes we can develop 2 or 3 characters, and then as we're doing what the story did in this movie, we can just do that just a little longer time, like over like 6 episodes. Being able to jump back in time to see how they were acting, I thought that was actually a pretty cool idea. But I can see how some people might see it as a little distracting slash a little convoluted, not really focused or anything. And so I kind of understand that idea, and I feel like if we had different episodes where we can actually like see them during this time, see them actually acting in this way, learning about certain things about people and stuff in these periods of times. And the movie kind of focuses on Icarus and Cersei's, and so these are like the two sort of main characters of the movie, and they have like this romantic relationship. And I feel like we just needed just a little bit more time to sort of basically sit with these characters a little longer. I feel like what we got was good. I thought it was a great starting point of basically all the characters. Each person had like their own interesting like thing. Like there you have like the little girl. She's like stuck in a little body, and so she's like freaking like I just want to experience love. I just want to experience a relationship, and no one wants me because I'm a little kid. And so like that whole idea is like really interesting. And every single character has one of these sort of issues or arcs that they're trying to overcome. And so I feel like this movie had a great start on trying to develop all these little things. But I feel like there just wasn't, they didn't really explore just like a teensy bit. They could have explored just a little more on those things. And I feel like if there was a mini series or maybe a sequel, maybe that could have expanded a little bit more. I would even be fine with this movie being even longer, like 3 hours, just because I find the characters so interesting. I actually like most of the characters. I feel like some of them are really underutilized, especially the young girl, or the really fast girl. I feel like we could have explored like why was she just stuck in the thing for like 1,000 years? What was she just doing there? Like what did she think? What did she come up with? Because like these people have been around for like 7,000 years, and yet they're acting like normal people that just exist in our time. And so I'm thinking like maybe we could have seen something more like maybe because they've been around, they've been around for all these generations. Maybe they know something interesting about the wars. Maybe they know something about you know about the concept of time, or like what it means to like purpose and stuff like that. They could have explored all these interesting ideas, and I feel like they just kind of missed that opportunity just a bit. We could have get something more focused. But for the most part though, I thought the action was great. The acting was really good for most of the people. I thought the comedy worked well. This scene in particular, like all the big action moments when there was like when you saw the Eternals, like that whole sequence was insane. I thought that was really good, and so I wanted to. We got these big action things and they were like in IMAX and everything, and I thought that was really well deserved. And so Chloe Zhao was really, this is one of the more distinguished MCU movies I think. in terms of action, but even just in directing in general, like this movie has a really distinguished style. And I think Chloe Zhao, I'm glad Chloe Zhao was able to put her fingers into this. But I just feel like maybe she just didn't dive into like the big major themes that we could have gone into. That was the only thing that was really missing. But this movie had also just a much more difficult task than something like Infinity War, because back those movies, this Infinity War had a bunch of movies to back into this one concept, so they were able to explore certain characters or explore ideas that were already established better. But I feel like with Eternals, she had to start from completely scratch, which makes that a little bit more difficult, especially if like you don't have any movies to support the film as like a backbone or anything. But I still like what we were able to get. I think worked really well, and so I'm glad Chloe Zhao was able to actually do something cool. And so for the most part, I enjoyed the movie. I enjoyed the scale of the film. I thought there were just a couple things that could have been more interesting in the movie. But I think overall, great watch. I'd seriously give it like a 7 out of 10. Tragedy of Macbeth is the newest movie from, I think it was Ethan Coen, or no, it was Joe. And so these are the Coen brothers. They're iconic filmmakers. They make some of the best movies out there. Or I guess one of them made Tragedy of Macbeth, which is a sort of a modern adaptation. It's just an adaptation of the Macbeth, or Shakespeare's Macbeth. This is an interesting movie because I was really looking forward to this, like the idea of it. The Coen's take on this weird Shakespearean play that was first written in like the 1500s. It's like, what the heck, what are they gonna do? And so we got the movie, and so they are very true to the language, because this movie, with like really fantastic directing and really fantastic cinematography, some of the best cinematography I've seen all last year. Just in general, even like this is on par with like The Lighthouse and stuff. The dialogue is exactly as it was written in the 1500s, because the dialogue is the old Shakespearean language, which is very confusing because okay, I'm not a I guess I haven't read Shakespeare, okay? I've read Romeo and Juliet, and like I was barely able to understand it, and like I understand the concept and I understand how great that was. But it was difficult for me to read because the language is not easy to understand. It was written 500 years ago. How the heck am I supposed to get it? And so this movie basically stays true to that. And so the dialogue is, definitely difficult to get through. And so even with subtitles, I had subtitles on and I was able to get more information. And so I was able to get used to the dialogue much later on in the movie. But still, like it was like important character moments happen, and then things happen in the movie and you're not really sure why, but I'm pretty sure it was explained in one of those random monologues that were happening. And so I do like the idea of plays. Like I understand the concept, like when different characters have monologues, like it's interesting to me, like all those moments when you had Denzel Washington just talking to himself about what he's thinking, what he's going through. I thought those moments worked and they were effective. And I understood like basically like 60-70% of what happened. It's just that random 30% was just like, oh gosh, what did he just say? Like, what the frick is going on actually? And so, but like for the most part, I was able to get the story. Like you get the story, and it's interesting and it makes sense. But maybe I just didn't understand. Like I haven't studied Macbeth, so I wasn't able to pick up on any of like the random themes. Like you have the power and the crown and everything. Once again, you can watch this movie a bunch of times and get the story of Macbeth, or you can just read it or watch other adaptations. But this is a movie that stays true to that story, and I feel like the cinematography is interesting because it adds to the style of the like. It's weird because the castle and stuff, it's all modern designed, and so it's a really interesting. Like, the production design is insane, and so it's a really interesting way of adapting something that was made in like the medieval times, or a story set in the medieval times, is to make like all the architecture modern and hard squares and everything. And that was actually like a really interesting idea that the Coen bro Joe Coen wanted to do, and so I'm glad he was able to do it in that way. And I think the cinematography makes the story more interesting for sure. But once again, getting through that dialogue was pretty difficult, and the movie itself, because it's so dialogue heavy, sometimes can be a little boring, especially when you don't even understand what they're saying. But like I still gotta appreciate the art put into it and the love that was being crafted on the screen here. I can imagine maybe coming back to this and like, or maybe studying Macbeth, or like reading up on it and sort of understanding all the little themes, then coming back to this movie and then actually appreciating it better. But yeah, overall, like the acting was insane. Denzel Washington was able to put his heart out into this. There's so many moments where he was expressing so much emotion, and I'm like, I was definitely feeling how he was feeling. All the other characters, Francis McDormand, that guy back there, everyone, they all had amazing acting, and that's thanks to them being good actors, but also just Cohen's direction. Overall, I think I mean, I did really enjoy this movie. Once again, a little difficult to understand, but and so because of that, I'm not sure that this movie can be able to even reach the audience maybe it needs to in order to make money. Um, it's an A24 movie. They're making the movie for the art, and it's not always for the money. But still, I mean, like, this movie is very inaccessible. I can imagine the average moviegoer would watch this and be like, what is happening? I don't understand what's going on. And so I would understand you, and I would get that, and I would be on your side. I would be on your side. I'd be like, yeah, this movie kind of makes no sense, but and so I guess someone who likes Shakespeare will probably like this movie because you're getting visuals to what the story is, but they do take a little liberties. They cut some pieces of dialogue out, some like big monologues from like other characters. They cut them out. They cut back on some other characters that were in the actual story. But once again, that's the creative thing, and they're doing their thing. And so overall, I think I really enjoyed this movie. So I'd give it a 7.5 out of 10. I think Tragedy of Macbeth is a little overrated, and Eternals is a little underrated, and so that's my main takeaway. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed that video. If you want to see more, subscribe, like the video. If you believe more people should watch this, hit that like button, share it, and see you guys next time. Follow me on Letterboxd, and just Anthony P. And then that's it. All right, bye.